Now, while I have no experience in putting a budget together, I have spent plenty of time in my life seeing the tricks that have been done by both sides of Parliament for a very long period of time. And I'm going to now tell you about the magic tricks that governments use to get a budget to look better or worse than they want. In this case, for the federal government to make it seem like the magic trick and the rabbit out of the hat is that we've saved all of this extra money, when the reality is that they have spent more. Now, the magician here, and appropriately to match their personalities, I've gone for mannequins here. Jim Chalmers, his assistant, is the finance minister in Katie Gallagher. So, this is what they have already told us is in the budget. They will spend more money than the Liberal budget had in March. That will mean there will be a bigger deficit than the one that was delivered in March. Real wages, meaning the power of your every dollar you earn, goes backwards. It is already back at 2011 levels, but that will keep getting worse until at least the start of the financial year 2024-25, which is July 2024. They have said inflation will get worse. If inflation gets worse, interest rates gets worse. Repeat the cycle, repeat the cycle. Power bills are part of inflation. The ABS will give us monthly, not just quarterly, inflation numbers, so there's nowhere to hide. And despite the fact that we have shown you that $250 billion every single year is what is spent by the federal government on welfare, more money is going to be spent on welfare. Now, the photos that we showed you at the start of the Prime Minister sitting there with his Treasurer and with his Finance Minister, well, you're not meant to listen to the sound because it's all just file footage, a picture opportunity. But I wanted you to listen to the sound and answer yourself this question. Do you trust these people with the future of our economy?
Good job, Katie, finding savings.
An ongoing job.
Very important. And Jim, an amazing effort to put together a Labor budget that's in a proud Labor tradition of fulfilling our commitments, making a difference, whilst not putting pressure on inflation, a difficult task that you had.
Apart from the fact that they have admitted that inflation will get worse, which means their decisions will make inflation worse, which leads to more interest rate rises. Their decisions will push up power prices, which again feeds back into inflation, which makes interest rates worse. Nothing to see here. New government, new vibe, man. Well, let's have a look here at Katie Gallagher, the magician's assistant here, the finance minister. The finance minister's job is to look at how government spends money. Now, this is government spending money on things like the public service, not just decisions that are made about where you build this or buy that. Now, sadly, 2/3 of the mean girls are still there. Di Lee, God love you for getting rid of KK. Now, today, she was out there telling everyone, we have found $21 billion worth of savings. But let's be very honest. To save money means you spend $1 less. But what they've really done is they've moved $21 million from one line to another line. They haven't saved any money. Now, by their own admissions, okay, and there's multiple reporting from the Channel 9 newspapers, The Guardian, the ABC and The Australian, this is what they have done. How do they save $21 billion? Well, put simply, $12 billion worth of decisions that were made by the last government simply, bang, gone. Those deals will not happen. $3.6 billion apparently will come from not calling in consultants to give advice to government. And how's this? $10 billion worth of money that's been promised for the bush, including roads and dams, all disappears. Now, if, like me, you can say, well, hang on, that's more than $21 billion. Welcome to the new Labour-omics, Albo-omics, as we used to call it, where it doesn't matter what it really adds up to, just make it seem like we're saving lots of money. So then also here, you needed to read this story from news.com.au because this is perhaps the ballsiest trick that they are pulling in this budget. This includes $6.5 billion that will be recouped by shifting infrastructure projects that can't be delivered within the next 4 years out of this budget and into the government's medium-term expenditure plans. So put simply, they're still spending $6.5 billion building stuff, but because it won't be built in the next 4 years, they don't have to tell us about it in the budget. What a way to save money. Now, those roads will still eventually be built, will still be paid for, will still add to a deficit, but because they want to make the headline numbers look good, no one will call them out on it. There's an entire floor of Parliament House filled with so-called experts on Australian politics. They will sit in a room for 5 hours pretending they're resitting the HSC, but they're really caucusing about how best to spin the budget for the government. That's the media. Otherwise, they would call all of this out for you. And it wouldn't be just some bogan bloke yelling on television, but I know how the tricks work. Peter Costello once was able to get a surplus 1 year of a couple of $100 million. Why? Because he just made up how much money they would make from auctioning off the mobile phone spectrum. That's how it works. Oh yeah, also, I expect them to find extra billions of dollars when it comes to smoking taxes. This is a trick being used by both sides of politics when generally it's about $11 billion currently that they expect to make out of smokers. Unless they increase the taxes, which may well happen as well, they'll pretend that they're going to have a crackdown on the black market that will suddenly make that $16 billion. It won't happen. They may well do exactly the same when it comes to alcohol taxes. So that's the tricks, and that's how they work. We will join you straight after the budget tomorrow night, after the main coverage, to really pull it apart and tell you all the tricks and tell you the truth about a budget that is about shifting money, not cutting money, spending more money than the previous government, pretending they're going to fix inflation while promising for it to go higher.